Hey guys, this is Sage Valentine and welcome to my channel of the same name. I will be reviewing Survivor Season 30, Episode 1. So what do I think of this season so far? I like it a lot. I like the three different tribes and how they are split by their places in society: the white collar tribe, the blue collar tribe, and the no collar tribe. Now I'm going to try to tell you guys the names. I think I'm missing about two of them, so just bear with me. But for the white collar tribe, known as Messiah, there is So, Max, Tyler, Joaquin, Sharon, and Carolyn. For the blue collar tribe, known as Escameca, it's Mike, Rodney, Dan, Kelly, and Lindsay. And for the no collar tribe, which is Nagarote, is Jen, Hallie, Vince, Joe, and Will. So, basically this season is all about which division is best suited to win this game. Whenever somebody volunteers to be the leader on either Survivor or Big Brother, I always feel some type of way about that. I'm always worrying about that person. So when Dan, a super fan from Escameca, aka the blue collar team, volunteered to be the leader of his group as per Jeff Probst, because Jeff Probst told everybody you had to volunteer one person to be a leader, and Joaquin from the white collar team volunteered, or I think his group volunteered him, but he kind of volunteered, but Will from the no collar team volunteered, but I don't see Will going too far in this game. I really honestly don't. But Dan, to be honest, I felt weird. I kind of cringed a little bit. In fact, I did kind of cringe for Will too, because usually the people who are the first to, volunteer are the ones that ultimately end up going home quicker than other people. This is how I've seen it. I don't know how you guys have seen it, but I've always noticed that that person always has like a target on their back, and people are like always plotting like, let's get rid of this person as quickly as possible. Come to think of it, I didn't even like when Joaquin kind of sort of was volunteered by his group. I felt like he was pushed a little bit to do it. I felt that was a little bit suspect. So each person had to pick a partner to stand with them. So Will chose Jen, Dan chose Mike, and Joaquin chose So. So each pair has to make a decision for their group once everybody's back at their camps. They have to choose between an option of honesty, where they get this really big bag of beans, or dishonesty, where they get this little tiny bag of beans and a clue for the immunity idol. So the blue collar and the no collar teams both chose honesty, but the white collar team decided, we're not going to be honest. We're going to take this small bag. We'll lie to our teammates and tell them that there were three different options, and we will essentially go and search for this immunity idol. Unfortunately, what happened was, as soon as they got back to the camp, So was the person who was explaining everything to the group. The group really didn't believe her, but the biggest fans both noticed that something was off, especially Sharon, because Sharon basically said, I've been watching the show since I was 26. I know there was a third option. And Carolyn was like, I know that something weird was going on. You didn't have to tell me. Somehow they must have an item. So they basically show us the blue collar team, and they seem to be working hard. And this guy Rodney likes this tattooed girl named Lindsay, because his goal is to get with all of the girls, or get together with the girls. And using his sister's death, he says that that's the way that he's going to get the girls to, I guess, gravitate towards him. I think it's a crazy move, a foolish move, and kind of a bad move, in my opinion. But considering that he's using like tragedy for this, but I mean, I've seen other people do other things, like use their families to get as far as they can through the game, so I shouldn't be too surprised. Mike on the blue collar team ate a scorpion, which was pretty nasty, if I do say so. Then he ended up getting sick, which was pretty funny, because he's just like, oh, and somebody on Twitter was just like, well, maybe that scorpion tail got to him or something. So in the no-collar team, this guy Vince wants to hook up, and he tries to hook up with Jen. Jen's not really feeling him. However, she starts showing an interest in another guy named Joe that Vince had an issue with because they were building the shelter and they had a disagreement. It turns out that Joe used to be a contractor or in construction, and he got a little annoyed with Vince, and Vince was upset, so there's some tension there. So as soon as Vince saw him talking to Jen, he felt upset, and basically he kind of went over to Jen and said, why are you talking to him? Do you have feelings with him? He was becoming very clingy, and I agree with Jen. It was a tad bit strange. On the blue-collar team, Dan ends up getting under everybody's skin. And in particular, he gets under Lindsay's skin. The others don't feel like he belongs. It's basically, as far as building the shelter, he has this idea, but when everybody else kind of comes up with their ideas and they're trying to tell him maybe we could do the bamboo like this or this, he's like, no. He's like, the bamboo will break, such and such and such. So to make a long story short, nobody likes him. He really doesn't have any friends at this point except for Mike, and Mike seems to be the glue that's holding the group together. So Mike will probably be the reason why Dan stays in the game. More than likely, he will make sure that they don't get rid of Dan, and everything is basically smooth sailing at that point. And it's kind of like Dan versus the girls a little bit. Then we get to the no-collar team. Oh, man. They don't know how to build a shelter. They don't know how to make fire. They don't have Joe on their team, who is like watching YouTube videos of them making fire in previous seasons or on some random video, and he figured it out. So Tyler comes out of nowhere, and he's just like, I don't like the way that things are being built. And then no one, as I said, knows how to make fire. Okay, then we get to Carolyn. Carolyn, as I said before, was skeptical of So and Joaquin because of the whole beans thing. So she follows him around, and it clicks in her head that, again, they're looking for an idol because So is not very discreet. She's wandering around, gathering bamboo, drops it, and then starts searching through the trees. And Carolyn decides, let me go look in this random looking tree, and she finds an immunity idol. Which I was just like, you know what? I'm not even sure at this point who I'm going to hitch my wagon to, but I'm really feeling Carolyn at this point. So at this point, So and Joaquin basically have targets on their backs, or at least I think they did, and it seemed like the group was a little bit suspect, but really it turns out the only people who were looking at them sideways was Sharon and Carolyn, which I guess is the reason why they both end up being the targets once they get to tribal council. Okay, so to make a long story short, they make it to the immunity challenge, all the different groups, white collar, blue collar, no collar, and essentially the white collar group, they lose. They don't get the immunity, they don't get the fire little package that the no collar team got when they won. They don't get the flint that the blue collar team got. And they blame it all on Sharon and Carolyn. And basically, I messed up when I was watching it because I made the mistake of flipping the channel to go and look at Empire because I was trying to see like what was going on with Empire. Essentially, ended up watching it later. And I was kind of pissed because I was like, dude, I should have just finished watching Survivor and then done it. But everybody was mad at Sharon and Carolyn. And it switches kind of from the target being on both of them to the target being on Carolyn. And I think the reason why they put that target on Carolyn is because they know that Carolyn has peeped their whole card. And she knows that they have they have an idol clue. And that they essentially lied to the group. So, and I guess she's been more vocal. Maybe they didn't show it to us. Something to that effect. So the group comes back and they decide, you know what, Carolyn's the oldest, she's the weakest, she should go. Tyler runs to Carolyn and tells her, listen, the group wants you out. she goes to So and the rest of the group. They're like, oh, well, we kind of have a name, but we don't know, and such and such. And you know the old Survivor rule, when a person comes up and they ask you, are you going to vote them out? And you tell them no. Well, for most of the season, people tell them no. Like in the recent couple seasons, people have been like, especially in like season 28 and 29. I don't know about 29 as much, but 28, they used to go in a person's face and tell them, yeah, we're going to vote you out next. So, Carolyn reveals that she has an immunity idol, and she tells this to Tyler. Tyler's upset because he felt like the group could have voted her out, but now that she has an idol, they have to switch their focus. So Carolyn essentially tells him, as well as her alliance of Sharon and Max, like, listen, we need to get So the hell out of here because a girl needs to go. And I was suspect of her when she said that, though, because yes, that's the way things go. But if anything, as much as I love Joaquin, both of them should have been targets, So and Joaquin, not just So, even though I like Joaquin. So at the tribal council, it becomes this big fight between So and Carolyn. Words are exchanged, games are exploding in people's faces. It's just a mess. So to make a long story short, So ends up going home. And she feels like it was her worst nightmare. She was an asset to the team. But the problem is she was a bad liar. And that explanation of the third option between honesty and dishonesty just didn't fly right. Hopefully in the next episode they show us a little bit more. And they kind of let us get to know the players more, because I felt like in the beginning, like, they were interviewing people, but it kind of went so fast and I didn't really get to learn everybody's names. So I'm sure when I announce the names on here, I missed a couple names, but hopefully in the next one we'll get to learn a little bit more. So until next time, you all take care. Thank you so much for tuning in to my review. You all take care. This is Sage Valentine again, signing off. Don't forget to rate this video. Leave your comments as to what you think is going to happen this season and who you think is going to be the winner, because at this point I have no clue who that's going to be. And subscribe to my channel and my brand of crazy. Check me out on Twitter and Google+, same name, Sage Valentine. So until next time, I love you all. Bye, guys. Bye.